Okay, so what we're going to do today is super fun because we have a nice small group. Is really we can customize the next hour to everyone who's here on this call. And so really I want to make sure that each and every one of you is getting what you need to feel like you can move forward. So originally my intention was like, I'm going to take you behind the scenes, show you a little bit about my two programs that I'm talking about a lot right now, just to kind of share my thought process with how I structured them. I can even show you like behind the scenes of my Thrive card about how they're set up like technically. But also if that doesn't feel like it's going to be super helpful for you, then if you have other questions or other things you'd like me to walk you through or answer, really I want to make sure that I'm here to help you. So is there anything in particular that you'd like me to talk about or walk you through or show you or answer?
I think for me, it's not anything specific.
Oh, Sandra, I'm muted, but I can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. I think you're, oh,
yes.
yes. Okay, now you're good. Yeah.
The old Zoom thing. I think for me, it's not anything specific at this stage. I suppose looking at, your programs and stuff would be interesting to me just to kind of see what's available and what the next steps can look like. But yeah, other than that, I don't think I've got anything specific at this stage yet.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to request or ask for?
Emily, I think just along what we were just chatting about is, the bringing in the instructional design into it is really, I've seen so much discussion around the other areas. I feel like, I've heard a lot of that and understand that. So that angle, I think, is particularly interesting for me.
Yeah, for sure. We can definitely dive into that. And Andrea or Andrea, I'm not sure. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Is there anything in particular you'd like to chat about? Or if you're just here to listen, you also don't have to answer. You can just do like a thumbs up, whatever feels comfortable for you.
I don't know, we're good. It's just more about like, yeah, it's trying to learn a little bit more and see what comes up. Like I don't have any specific at the moment, but I'm sure if anything, as I watch stuff that you're doing, I'm sure something else will trigger my mind.
Yeah.
And I can ask you that you can share with us. So, but yeah, for now, I'm just here to listen and to learn. But thank you.
Okay, amazing. That's awesome. Well, at any point, you're always welcome to like interrupt me, ask questions, like be like, wait, slow down, speed up, whatever it is. Really, I'm here to kind of help all of you. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of talk through my process in terms of how I thought about structuring these two programs. And then if we take some side tangents, we can totally do that. So what I'm doing right now is I have kind of two programs that are open for enrollment, and they're very, very different experiences. And so this is where I thought it'd be really fun to kind of contrast how I thought about these two different experiences, but also the similarities that goes into the planning of them and the structuring of them and the learning design of them. So one offer or program experience that I have open right now is my signature group coaching program, which is the Incubator. And this is like my baby. I love this program. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's actually like the coolest thing I've ever designed. And what it is when I sat down, I was like, I love working one-to-one with my clients. It lights me up. I love being able to like get my hands into people's programs and help them. But ultimately I can only help so many people. And I was like, okay, how can I come up with a scalable form of this that still has the connection and the intimacy that I really enjoy with my one-to-one clients? And so this is kind of like the first thing that I 100% encourage everyone to do when you're thinking about designing your scalable programs, is to think about what matters most to you and how do you want to feel. And so for me, intimate was one of like the keywords that just kept coming up. I was like, I want this to be an intimate experience. I want to make sure that I have that connection, that I can have that personalization. I was like, I don't want to have 50 people on a Zoom call where I can answer like maybe 4 questions and I can't actually get in and get to know them and know their pets' names and know their business background and all of those things. So I knew right away with the Incubator that I wanted to keep the group small. And so each pod is actually limited to only 12 people. And I knew I wanted to have the group calls be 90 minutes so that I could really make sure that there was enough time for me to get into what they needed and what questions came up. And when I was thinking about the transformation that I wanted to provide, I knew I had a couple kind of milestones. And this is something that can happen quite easily. And I know, Sandra, we were talking about this for you with like the scope that can go like this. And I was like, okay. In my one-to-one work, I focus on the design and the architecting of your program. That's where I put like my full learning design force into things. And I was like, okay, but then after that, we talk about building the program. Then after that, we talk about launching the program. And then after that, we talk about running the program and making updates to that. And so I was like, okay, what feels like a good scope for this? What feels like a good transformation? What are people looking for? And so this is where there's like partially like some learning design, some learning science, and there's also partially intuition. So for me, intuition always wins out, really, really trusting your gut on things about what feels good for you. And so I was thinking about, okay, how long can people sustain a journey? How long can people kind of commit to a process? And when I was thinking about, okay, start to finish the process of like coming up with your idea, designing your course, building your course, launching your course, I was like, that is something that if you are like really on it and you have a ton of spare time and no other life commitments, and you're able to like really put your head down and focus, you could probably comfortably, without like burning out your nervous system, do that in about 4 months. Realistically, I would say it takes more like 6 to 8 months, but everyone needs to go at their own pace. And so when I was thinking about, a group program and what I wanted to run and the size of container that I wanted to commit to, I was like, that 4 to 6 month mark, that feels good to me. Because I know some people run year-long coaching containers, but I feel like as a leader, so much changes for me within a year, within my business, within my life, that I was like, I'm not sure I feel comfortable selling or inviting people into a year-long container when I don't know what I'm going to be offering, what I'm going to want to be doing. And also I know for other people, like your business shifts so much and, your journey and your life and your priorities shift so much that asking other people to come into a year-long container didn't feel aligned for me at that moment. So I was like, okay, 4 to 6 months, let's play around with this. And so you can see, like, as I was sitting and then playing with these different options, it always comes back to balancing what works for you and what works for your people. And so I landed on playing around with a 4-month initial commitment, because I was like, 4 months feels like a really good amount of time where I feel like people can confidently get to the transformation that I'm promising if I give them a timeline and I set them up for success. And for people who want more time, who need more support, who are wanting to go at their own pace, after the initial 4 months in the incubator, you can sign up month to month. So you can keep going, you can keep getting the support you need, you can really customize the experience. Because to me, one of my core business values is freedom and autonomy. And that means not only using scalable programs as a way of building in more freedom and spaciousness into your life and into your business, but it also means autonomy for the learners over their experience. This is like one of my favorite kind of things about how adults learn, is it is so important for us to have control over our experience, to be able to customize it to what feels good to us, to what's relevant to us, because we are busy. We have a lot on our plate. So I think we've all been in that situation where we're learning something and the person is like going on and on and on about something that you're like, this is not remotely relevant to what I need to learn. I call that like high school algebra syndrome, where you're just like sitting in math class and you're like, when am I ever going to use this? Like, can you just teach me how to do my taxes, please? Like, that would be great. And so we want to avoid that in our experiences, both on the macro level of how people are moving through how the program is structured, and on the micro level of like the lessons and the activities and the details. So this is where having a visual is going to be a lot more helpful for you. So let me just pull this up so I can share my screen. Okay. So on the theme, this is a little bit small. There we go. Okay. Let me share the screen here. So as I was thinking about this experience that I wanted to craft for my people, I knew that I really wanted to bake that value of freedom and autonomy and customization into this experience. And so the way that I did that was thinking about coming up with pathways for people, because this is actually something I struggled with a lot. I was like, okay, I'm bringing people through a group coaching process. I want them to get to this outcome, but there are so many different ways of getting to an outcome. I'm like, some people love to pre-sell a program and don't have anything built. Other clients I've seen that they're like, if I don't have this entire program built, my nervous system is going to like absolutely fry. And so I was like, how do I honor that everyone has these different approaches? And so I did that by coming up with 3 different pathways through the incubator. So when people come into the experience, they take a small quiz that asks them questions about like life priorities, energy, how they like to build, comfort levels with selling, these types of things that then generate a pathway for them. And based on this pathway, they are now having a way to move through the coaching experience. So as part of the incubator, people get my full course suite, all of the programs I have. And their pathway now shows them how to move through these in a way that works for them. So that there's never a question of what do I do next? Where do I go from here? Which makes most sense for me. It's like, okay, here's your pathway. This is, a little bit of how it works for you. And then this is what you need to do. So I'll show you the guidebooks that people get in a minute here because I think they're so cool. I mean, I'm obviously in love with my program, so I think everything's cool, but I just like love to show it to people. So this next piece here is what I think really sets the incubator apart and what I think is really fun. And this started with me going, okay, what would make this program like over the top cool? Like what's something that I haven't actually seen people doing very often, if at all? And that was, thinking about ways to build in like motivation and celebration throughout the journey. So without going into like too much detail, there are kind of 2 main types of motivation. There's the intrinsic motivation that like motivates us within. It's things that are connected to our goals, that connected to our purpose. It's really that inner drive. And there's extrinsic motivation, which is like seeking rewards. And often what we see in online courses is we see the gamification where it's like you get points or you get badges or you get this, which are okay. I'm not a huge fan of them, but they're okay. But I was like, what if we could take this gamification and merge it and weave it together with celebration so that instead of feeling like you can't celebrate until your course is done, which could be a 4 to 6 month wait before that happens, how could we celebrate milestones of important things that happen along the way, but also with prizes that actually help your journey? So it becomes this self-fueling cycle. And so in this case, as people complete milestones, you unlock fun things like you unlock a one-to-one coaching call with me. You unlock a review and feedback of what you're working on. You unlock a sales page review by a copywriter. You get prizes or presents when you actually launch. And so this is when it comes to your programs where I encourage you to think about how can I make sure that the big satisfaction moment isn't waiting at the very end of the program? How can you bake in celebration or that sense of accomplishment on a regular, consistent basis? Because if we push off the fun for too long, if we push off that sense of celebration and it just feels like do one more thing, do one more homework, eventually it's not going to feel very fun. And I feel like as adults, we have a lot of things that don't feel super fun in our lives. So we want to try to make sure that this experience that you're crafting for your people is motivating, it's exciting, it's really getting them to where they want to be in a way that feels really, really fun. So before I kind of dive into some more details about how I structured the guidebooks and how I structured the actual individual kind of action steps, does anyone have any questions or thoughts or things you'd like to chat about?
Emily,
I love all of that.
yes,
I can,
I was just echoing that. I love it as well.
I can see why you're excited about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think this is very much like what I want everyone to feel about the program, because when you love your program, the rest of all the marketing stuff, it just kind of falls into place because it starts to become a no-brainer because you're like, why wouldn't you want to sign up? This program's amazing. Like I love it and I'm so confident in it and I know it's going to get you incredible results and I'm excited to deliver it because there's no part of it that feels draining. This is something that I often see happen when clients come to me for program refreshes or audits. Is they're like, I'm starting to resent my students. I don't like having to deliver this. I don't like this type of thing. So we want to make sure that, there's always going to be changes and tweaks that happen to your program along the way, but we want to try from the get-go to design something that works for your life, that works for your energy. So you're not designing something that you're going to be like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to design this or run this. Oh, we have a new friend join. Hi, is it Chisam? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. So nice to have you here. Okay, so let me, oh, got a cat on my desk. 1 second here. There we go. Let me show you kind of what the guidebooks look like here. Oh, did you have a question, Michelle?
Not really a question. I just really wanted to say how much I love how you've done this and your approach with the different quizzes and how you're actually factoring in the whole person. It feels very holistic to me, you know, with regards to how you're talking around the energy and the fact that, you know, as much as you love your work, you can get to this place where you are starting to resent. That energy gets misdirected, right? Where then you're resenting the people and you're like, why would I be resenting people? I want to do this. And so I love that you've really been able to connect all the dots and see deeper into this, because this to me has been what I feel has been missing in a lot of programs, frankly. And so I kind of feel like you've just jumped into my head, and I just wanted to let you know how much I'm enjoying your philosophy on this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much. And I think just the way you described it is so eloquent. And that is very much what is so important to me. Is I think the whole person does get missed very often. I think that's what is so problematic with some of those kind of one size fits all blueprints, where it's like, this works really well if you're like in this place of privilege and you have no other priorities, you have nothing else going on, your brain works a certain way, that you can show up and do these like extreme kind of like hustle modes or design a course that looks a certain way. But I think we're all so unique, and being able to design a program that honors how unique our learners are, but also how we are and how we like to show up and how we show up best, that's when we're really able to like have those powerful transformations for our people. So thank you for reflecting that back. That means a lot. So we've kind of talked about the incubator on like a high level, high structural level in terms of the pathways and the milestones and how I came up with the timeline of it. But now I want to show you how I manage kind of the more micro level. And the thing that I want to say is that this changed. I did 1 round of the program. And what I was doing for the first round is I was going to do cohort based, where we kind of came in and every week I would like teach a little mini lesson. We do some co-working and we kind of work through things together. So I was like, this will be really good, because everyone said they want step-by-step accountability and they really want to get things done, and they want me to guide them through that. And within a month of the first cohort, that became very apparent that was not going to work, because life happened and people got busy. And so people very quickly separated in where they were in the journey. And so that's how I landed on where I am now, where it is a self-paced journey. I'm going to give you, your action steps, your pathways, you have your milestones, you have weekly group coaching, but you get to go at the pace you want to go at. And I think that's one of the things I love so much, is that there's not this pressure of like, I'm behind, or I need to hurry up, or I need to rush through. It's like you can kind of, if you have a weekend and you're super productive and you like power through a bunch, awesome. If, like what happened over the summer for quite a few of my members, like family vacations and other things came up, they had to slow down a little bit. That's totally fine. And so really it is like going at the pace that works for you, but having the support that you need both on the group level and the individual level. And so that again was kind of really important to me, was people being able to go at their own pace. So in order to support them in that, I created these guidebooks so that there wasn't ever a question of what people needed to do. So we're going to look at the Architect Pathway Guidebook. The Architect is the pathway where you're building your entire program before you launch it. So out of the 3 pathways, there's one where you're gearing up for a pre-sale. So you're not really building your program first, you're kind of designing it and then you're going to launch it, then you build it. There's one where you build the whole thing and then you launch it. And there's one that's kind of a halfway in between. So, and again, the quiz kind of helps people figure out what feels best for them and what's going to work best for them. And if they need to, they can switch halfway through. And so all the guidebooks kind of start the same. They start with a description of the pathway, the type of energy or kind of like vibe of the pathway, some success tips, some procrastination pits, just like little things to help people along their way. And then I give people a sense of what their 4 months could look like in the program. if they follow this calendar. And like I said, they can totally follow the calendar, or they can take their time, they can add on more time. Again, there's lots of rooms for customization, but I wanted to make sure, and this was part of me structuring this program, that I was like, if I'm saying this is a program transformation and people can do this in 4 months, I want to make sure that it's actually possible to do it in 4 months. And it is. It's a faster paced 4 months for sure, but I wanted to make sure that I was feeling confident in the program transformation, so that if someone wanted to come in, do it in 4 months and then leave, they absolutely could. And I've had people who have done that and they've said it's been really, really good timing. And then other people who have needed more time. And so then what I did is I created a detailed action plan where literally this is where my biggest tip when you're designing a program and they're thinking about it is, what do your people need to do, not what do they need to know. And so I started by mapping out all the actions that people needed to take. And so this really can be a very helpful lens to put on the program design experience. Because when we think about what we know, and this is often what I find the marketers tell you to do, is write everything you know down, or write it all on Post-it notes. And you're an expert at what you do. You know a lot, but that doesn't mean that your people need to know a lot. They need to take action, because transformation doesn't come from information. It comes from taking action. And so when we think about the promise that we want to have for our people, the transformation that we want to ask ourselves, what do they need to do in order to get to this result? And so that's where you can write down your action steps. And so in this case, I literally wrote down the action steps, and then I wrote my courses that support it. So I made sure that not only was it this is what you need to do, but here's where you can learn how to do the thing. And then of course you can see it shows where the milestones are that are unlocked along the way. And this was also really helpful for me, because the visual of the milestones showed me how long I was going with action steps before people had that sense of celebration. And I even baked some things in, and this is where sometimes we can get so focused on I don't know how to call that, the practical skills of our program, that we can forget to include other things. Here I said, plan how you're going to celebrate when you launch your program. Now, technically, that's not necessary for designing, building, launching your course. But for me, celebration is so important. And I know it often we just blast right on past it as part of the process. So I wanted to make sure that I had little things like that put in here. Or for instance, I have here, take a moment to celebrate how far you've come. And I put it for the Slack community. People can pop in there and celebrate. So I wanted to make sure that people had all the different pieces that they need. They had the resource library, the modules, the lessons, as well as the milestones, so that when they came in, they literally had a soup to nuts roadmap of what they needed to do, so that there was really, it took out that guesswork. Because that can happen a lot when we're designing a program, or when we're, there's so many moving pieces that it can feel where do I need to focus next? What's my priority right now? And so I wanted to make sure to give people what they needed to help with that overwhelm, to help with that confusion, so they felt absolutely clear moving forward. So any questions or anything you'd like to comment on before we keep moving forward?
I love your focus on celebrating.
Same, yeah. I think it's so important, isn't it? Especially, yeah, I don't think, like you said before, we often don't pause enough and celebrate. It's more what's the next thing? What's the next thing? You think actually reflection is really important. So I love that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that is something that I that on to the next thing. It's so true. It's all what comes next? What else can we do? Blasting right on past, moving the goalpost. We're so good at that. So good. So having that moment of celebration, being able to bake that in. I also, something that I don't have represented here is every week there's a reflection email that goes out that people can, send a few notes on what they're working on, or what they're celebrating, or where they're feeling stuck. So again, I have that kind of touch point to hear, is there anywhere else that people need support, which I think is so, so important. Okay, so this is kind of the structure of the incubator. So what I would love to know, for those of you who are here on the call, would you like to kind of see behind the scenes of my Thrive cart of how I have the actual program set up? Or would you like to kind of be walked through how I designed my in-person group VIP days? So kind of a very different style of experience. What would be most helpful for you right now?
If we can see the Thrive card part, the side of the design, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've got my Thrive cart here. So I use Learn Plus, which is ThriveCart's new kind of course platform. And I am obsessed with it. I think it is the best course platform. I started on Thinkific and I had a few bones to pick with Thinkific. And then I moved to self-hosted WordPress and it was way too much work. I do not recommend doing self-hosted. There's way too many moving pieces. And through my work with my clients, I really have seen behind the scenes of pretty much all the major platforms out there. And Learn Plus to me is so amazing. One of the things that I love about them is really how customized you can make the visual appearance of your program. So let me just kind of take you in here to the Incubator. As it's loading. Okay, I want to start by showing you the dashboard first though. So when people sign up, they land on your program dashboard. And so in this case, when you sign up for the Incubator, you get everything. So everything looks unlocked. But for people who sign up for other courses, some of these would be like grayed out. And in ThriveCart, you have the option of hiding it. So either you can show people, here's all the stuff. And if you're curious about it, click on it, takes you to a sales page. But if you want to like hide it, for instance, and clean it up so like they only see the first 3 or something like that, you can hide it from the dashboard. So when people sign up for the Incubator, I wanted to make sure that it was like visually, the first 3 are like, this is where I want you to start. And so people sign up for the Incubator and I created a program hub course because the actual curriculum for the Incubator are my self-study programs. So I didn't need like one enormous experience. I wanted to make sure that there was like something that kind of wrapped around it all. And so with ThriveCart, what I love is it's super customizable. You can change the fonts, you can change the colors, and the lesson pages are almost like little mini web page builders. Like literally you can add photos, text, buttons, you can add columns to have kind of different things here. So you can create a very like visually appealing experience so that people want to come in, they want to stay in, they want to kind of play around with things. And so this is very much where I was frustrated with more traditional course platforms where they would say, oh, it's a video lesson. You can put a video and maybe a little bit of text, or like, oh, it's a text lesson. That's it. Whereas with ThriveCart Learn, you could put 4 videos in a row if you needed to be like, choose which one you want or something. Like there's so much customization over the visuals, which I absolutely love. And so for the Incubator Hub, you can kind of see on the side here, these little like small words represent modules. And then I have these set up as lessons. And so I always love having a start here section for any course of giving the kind of onboarding experience, how the program is structured, showcasing, really like how to be successful in the program, what you need, how to access the materials, all that stuff. I always compare it to like university orientation. How can we orient our people to the experience so that technical difficulties, finding stuff, structural questions don't get in the way of the learning experience? And this is something that I often find gets neglected in programs. We just jump right in. We're like, hey, welcome to the course. So glad you're here. Bye. Like, dive into the materials, opposed to taking the time to actually be like, this is how the program is structured. This is why the program is structured this way. This is where you can get support. This is where you can find things. So having that in a nice start here section. And then of course we have the program pathways overview where people can kind of come in, they can take their quiz. Now, eventually my goal is to have a video walking through the different pathways, but I knew that I was going to be adding more pathways to this program. So I started with the 3. So like I was saying, the architect where you build your whole program and then you launch, the botanist where you build a little bit and then launch, then finish building, or the wayfarer where you pre-sell and then you build your whole program. But my goal is to soon have some pathways that help you if you have an existing program and it's not doing what you want it to do, to be able to come in and audit it and move through. So I was like, I'm not going to record a video yet when there's more coming. And so this is my permission slip to you of like, it doesn't have to be fully done before it gets out there in the world. And this isn't like a done is better than perfect, just whip it together, get it out there kind of mentality. Only you can decide what level of done you're comfortable with sharing. But the thing I encourage you to think about is how things are going to grow and shift kind of over the lifetime of your program, and giving yourself that space for flexibility. I find very, very often within the first year, maybe 2 years of a course, you're probably going to have to rebuild big chunks of it, because you're going to get feedback from your people. You're going to add lessons, remove lessons. You're going to change how things are done. This is something that I absolutely learned the hard way with my Magic Suite courses, Course Creation Magic and Group Program Magic. I spent so long making those videos gorgeous. I used like my DSLR. I like set up a beautiful background. Like technically they're beautiful. But in each video, I thought I was being smart. I cross-referenced. I was like, oh, you'll find this in lesson 3, or like this module has 4 parts or something like that. And now I'm going through and I'm like, I want to change that lesson. I want to remove that lesson. I want to add new lessons in here. And it means I have to re-record everything. So really keeping in mind that your program is a living, breathing thing. And so you want to make sure that you have that room for growth. You have that room to sustainably shift things. And also it doesn't have to be 100% perfect before you share it and before you start having like huge amounts of impact on people. Okay, hold on. This cat is digging into my lap. There we go. So what we have here, oh, did you have a question, Michelle? Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to say that this reminds me of, when a lot of times when we start off on a business, we want to put all this effort and energy into our brand and our website, and it's actually something that will be evolving. So I'm really resonating with how you're talking about it. And as you're talking about things, I'm understanding, because I've bought a couple of courses before in the past and haven't completed it. So I know that there's something internally here, like what's going on where I'm not able to get to the end result. And so these light bulbs are going off right now about, yes, of course, it's not just a one and done kind of thing. And, there's all this focus around passive income out there, and that you just don't have to do anything anymore. And I really I'm understanding how you're talking about this around the evolution of the program, and how a lot of times you don't know until you get the client feedback.
Mm-hmm.
It's just reminding me of other things also that, we go through in our business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a great parallel there of like, we think we've got it all figured out. And I remember like my very first website, I think I waited like 6 months to launch it. And then like 3 months later, I ended up changing and rebranding, so like I think that permission of like, things are going to grow, we're going to grow. I think that's what, makes the experience more powerful, is having that space to grow and shift and change things and be responsive to your people. I think it takes a lot of pressure off, because also sometimes we feel like, oh my goodness, like, people are paying me money for this. I want them to get the transformation. I want them to have an amazing experience. Like, I don't want them to feel disappointed or let down or not finished. Like, we've all had that experience with courses. And, the first thing I say is like, even just by thinking those thoughts, like you're not going to create a poor experience, because you're already obviously so aware of what you want to craft for your people. And by taking the time to go through a process, like go through the learning design process to make sure your course is intentionally architected, you're probably going to catch the biggest things so that people can get to that transformation. And by being open to student feedback, and by keeping that communication open with your people to hear like, how can I keep serving you? How can I help you? Like, what else can I do? Then that also takes that pressure off of like, you don't have to get it all right the first time. You can add more things to it. I'm continually asking my clients and the Incubator members and everyone, just like, what else do you need? Like, how else can I help you? And they'll say like, oh, can you do a ThriveCart tutorial? Can you do a template here? Can you do a training on this, how to build out your frameworks or your ecosystem? And I'm like, yeah, great, amazing. Like, let's do it. So being able to maintain that communication with your people is so, so important. Okay, so this is kind of like the behind the scenes of how I have ThriveCart set up here. So you can see I've kind of got the pathways in their own module with like the new pathways marked as coming soon. And then for all the milestones, I gave each of them their own lesson so that people can kind of, it's really easy to find where they need to go. So for instance, one of the very first milestones that you unlock is a call with me. And I decided on making this first one a one-to-one call because one, I wanted to have a touch point with people really, really early on in the process. But also I know that, oh, there's a typo, that should say macro structure. I know that your macro structure and feeling super, super clear on the journey of your program is the most essential piece to having a powerful program. And so I was like, if there's a place where I can go and help people with that clarity and talk through it and make sure that they're feeling really, really good about the structure of their program, then the rest of their experience is going to go so much more smoothly. So I was like, okay, this is great. So once they're done, there's like a link here. It takes them to a questionnaire and they can book a call. And then for the other things, you know, it's like fill out a Google form or book your other call or submit your launch, those types of things. And then of course, just kind of logistics of like accessing call recordings. Is there anything in particular you'd like to see in ThriveCart, either from like the user end or from like the behind the scenes that would be helpful?
I think for me, there's nothing specific, but I
Oh,
absolutely
Sandra, I
love
can't
the
hear
look
you.
of it. Oh,
There you go.
why is this every time it takes, there's a delay.
There's a delay. It's like, I
I
want.
just wait. I just unmute and wait. No, nothing specific. I just love the look of it. And I'm like, oh, ThriveCart. I've never looked at that. So it's another thing to look at now. It's like, what can I do with this?
So the thing I love about ThriveCart is that it's a lifetime payment. So it's not a subscription, which is amazing. The only downside is they don't do a trial. So I think they do like a 30-day, like if you don't love it, you can just like cancel and get your money back, but it's not like a free trial to test things out. But the thing that I love is, so ThriveCart started as a cart software. So they're really, really powerful for funnel carts. So like doing like order bumps and upsells and that type of thing. They integrate really nicely with like, I have it integrated right with my active campaign. So when people sign up, they get added to lists, they get tagged, like all that fun stuff. And then of course, now it integrates with this course software that they've now created. So I think all in, I think the initial investment is, I want to say it's like $700 lifetime, and then like you have it, and so you don't have to do like the ongoing subscription. So for me, I think it's 100% worth the investment. And if it's ever a thing where you're thinking about signing up, but you're like, oh, I just want to know, like, does it do this, or how does this look? Like, you're always welcome to like message me and be like, Emily, can you film me a loom behind the scenes of your ThriveCart? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm working on adding some tutorials to the course builder box, which is my kind of toolkit on actually building your course materials. And eventually I plan on having like ThriveCart templates and tutorials and all those things. But I've not gotten there yet, but I'm always happy to talk about it because I know choosing tech can be like a really overwhelming part of the process, and there's so many options. So any way that I can help kind of like talk through those options, I'm happy to. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. And for the last kind of 10 minutes, I'd love just to kind of open it up to like any questions that the three of you have. You know, it can be about what we've chatted about, it can be about something different. Really anything I can do to kind of help you on your program creation journeys.
I guess I just wanted to ask, because you've been through this already, you've created so many programs. So, you know, I'm in the process of creating my first course, and I mean, I'm excited about it, but at the same time, it's been a struggle to do it and to kind of keep moving forward. And of course, the thing that we usually do is beat ourselves up because it's like, why you're not ahead? Why are you not done more? Why is it taking so long? So like, what I don't know, suggestions or advice do you have for, can I be able to keep moving forward without feeling bad because you're not doing it faster than you should be? And now when I was listening to you, you were talking about like carrying a course, it could be anywhere from 4 months to 6 months. And I was like, okay, so it takes time, but you just want it right now, right? So it's one of those things that is just finding that happy medium. And I sometimes I feel like when I start thinking about all the stuff that I have to do, I feel like there's too much. I'm never gonna be able to finish, and I want to get it out. And it's like, how do I come up with a balance of like how much is okay? Maybe because I could have an idea of the course and maybe I'm putting too much, right? Because I want it to make really good so people will get transformation, people will be happy. But maybe because it's my first one, perhaps I should be doing something smaller so I can get my feet wet and then, like you said, get the feedback. Because the most important thing that I think it is, once it gets out there, is to get it out there, is because I need the feedback from people. I need to for them to go through it and see what's working for them, what's not working for them, so I can make it better. But at the same time, it's like, I want to put something good. So it's like, how do I find that balance and be able to keep going? Because that's been a struggle for me right now. And like, I still have my full-time job. So it's like, when I have time that I work on this, but I still feel bad because I'm not doing any more. I don't know. Sorry, I just rambled a little bit about the whole thing, but yeah, I just wanted to get your feedback because you've been through this and you know what people are going through because of people that are in your program. So maybe you have a perspective that can help me kind of go through this process.
For sure. Well, I mean, first of all, I just really want to like normalize your experience, because we've all been there. And I think there is this very toxic narrative in the industry of like, whip it together in a weekend. I just built my course in a week. Like, oh, now I'm sipping margaritas on the beach. Fine. And then we can feel like, is there something wrong with me that this is taking so long? Like I had this conversation with one of my clients where she's like, this is taking me so long. Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I like lazy? Am I not motivated? Am I just stupid? And I was like, no, none of the above. It takes time. It takes so much more time than people talk about. And that's because like, it's not sexy to be like, hey, here's a 6-month process. It's sexy to be like, okay, whip this together and be making 100K launches, which is also like not a thing for most people right away. And so first of all, just being really, really gentle with yourself. It sounds like, you're working full time, you've got a lot on your plate. So the fact that you're like even thinking about this and taking this on, like, that's huge. And then from there, I really think feeling into like what feels fun, like as simple as that sounds, like what would be almost like too fun to do as your first course. And I'm talking not only just for like topic, but also for the way of delivering it. Because sometimes, it's more fun for us to go like, oh, I'm actually just going to deliver this live. I'm not going to worry about pre-recording everything and pre-building everything. I'm just going to like once a week, like get on a call with people, record things live. And like, that's going to be my first iteration of the course. And I can get that live feedback. Other people are like, oh my God, the idea of teaching live gives me heart palpitations. I can't do that. I need to record things. In which case, full permission to do that. What you'll see about like me and my philosophy is like, there really isn't one right way to do things. And so if we can come back to like what feels the most like flowy and expansive and fun for us, and that's, in the topic we choose, in the type of program we choose, whether we're starting with a signature course or a tiny toolkit or a group program or a workshop, like there's so many different places you can start. And also how we deliver it, whether it's pre-recorded, whether it's all written, whether it's a, live taught, whether it's voice noted out to people, like there really are no rules. And so I think if you can like add that sense of fun back into it, that might help with some of the heaviness of like, oh my goodness, like I have so much to do and it's taking so much time. It's like, how can we make it more fun? Like, can you, I don't know, like have like a spa date after you finish recording your videos? Or can you like take yourself out for like a nice dinner to celebrate that you're, sold your first spot or whatever it is, like it's that celebration, it's that fun, it's that pleasure back into the experience. And then of course, obviously I'm biased, but the incubator really is like, that's your exact situation is why I designed it, is for people who are feeling like they just want to feel held and supported during the experience, to have a group and to have someone who's like, not only have I built my own courses, but I've also worked on 100 other courses of all different things. You know, I've seen pretty much it all. And so to be in an environment where you can be like, I'm having a really hard week. Like, can we just talk through this? Or like, I'm feeling like I'm slowing down. Like, do I need to slow down? Do I need to speed up? Help me get unstuck. So whether it's kind of coming into like that group experience and being held and supported in that way, or just looking at how you can give yourself like that space and that grace and that pleasure back into that experience, I think that would be like the biggest piece of advice I could give.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, really helpful.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, Michelle.
Hey, I just kind of really was listening to what Andrea was saying and sitting there going, yeah, check. I get it, you know, and I've been trying to get my first course out for a very long time and running into a lot of the same challenges that Andrea has just shared. And, you know, one of the things that, as you were talking earlier, you were talking about all the different components of your program. And I'm having more of an understanding of the importance of community. And I think globally, we're probably going through this. But, you know, I have been so used to that narrative of, like you said, hustle through and just get it done. And you can do it and just got to motivate yourself enough. And all of this sort of internal talk to try to move myself forward. And so as you've been talking, I've been thinking about the value of community in something like this in a way that I had not thought of it before. I'd always thought, well, I'm smart. I can figure this out. I don't need other people to cheer me on. I do lots of things and complete them. But the way that you've described things in terms of, you know, just really, again, I'll use that word holistic, is helping me to understand that this isn't just, you know, this isn't just a solo endeavor. And I feel like a lot of times it is positioned that way, you know, very individualistic. You get your program out and you offer it, and then you get all this money. And it doesn't really, we kind of are thinking about, as you were saying earlier, to that ripple effect. And so I think it's just all kind of collating for me here with the importance of the community. So I was wondering, actually, if you, in terms of talking about the community, I know you have a Slack community and you were saying you have the weekly calls. Is this something that you could address maybe a little bit more in terms of, because I'm getting the feeling of your program, which is interesting, because I don't always get the feeling and the vibe and like how that experience could be. But I'm getting the feeling that it's also, you know, that community portion of it is also a critical and part for us if we choose for it to be, to move us forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. And I think it's so true. And I mean, this is why, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to keep the pod numbers so small, is because really being able to see how the members connect and get to know each other and get to like understand, you know, each other's programs and businesses and lives. And then, you know, it's not all about me. And that's what I always say to them. Like, obviously I'm here to give the expertise where I can and, you know, help with the coaching and the consulting, but also like you have these other community members who are either there to be like, yeah, I'm feeling the same way. Like, this sucks right now. Or like, yay, you're doing it, we're celebrating. Or like just being able to come in. And so, you know, the calls themselves are very, very like fluid. And I make sure that everyone has their turn. But there is this opportunity where sometimes I go like, you know what, I'm going to hold back my thoughts. I want to hear what the group has to say right now. And so there's that opportunity for connection, whether it's on the human level of just like, yeah, you know what, I also have kids and I'm trying to build my course, and I was sitting down to try and record, and then my kid came and knocked my camera over, like, you know, whatever it is. Or it's, you know, being able to say like, and I'm also struggling with motivation, or how to do this. Or on the practical level of like, hey, I'm thinking of like naming my course this, or setting my course up this way, like, what do you think? And being able to get that peer feedback and get those extra eyes. And so I think, again, like, you know, I love that you use the word holistic, because that really is so important, where, you know, we have the more practical part of creating a course that in and of itself is massive. It's the structuring, it's the building, it's the launching, it's the tech. And then we have all of the like the mindset and the energy that goes into like stepping into this next level of our business, which draws on a new level of thought leadership and owning of our expertise. It's confronting all of those like, thought gremlins that can come up and like stop us from wanting to take action, whether it's the like, you're not good enough, or who are you to teach this, or who are you to charge for this, or those things. And so being able to have a community where you can feel comfortable to be like, I just need to talk through this. I think it's so important. And like you said, it's not about that individualistic journey. It's like, okay, let's talk through these things together and be supported and be held and become friends, which I love. Like I'm actually heading to Paris on Saturday. And part of what I'm doing there is I have some incubator members from London that are coming to meet up so we can all hang out together. And I'm like, I just think that's so special.
Okay, thank you so much for addressing that. And I saw your email about Paris and I was like, oh, that sounds so amazing. So have a wonderful time.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. And I'm so excited because I'm hosting the same experience in New York in November. So I'm like, it's all about like having that in-person connection as well. So it's like, whether it's for people who are in the incubator and they want to come and connect, or other people. So there's all the things. It's gonna be so much fun. Okay, so before we wrap up for the day, does anyone have any other questions? Anything else I can answer? Anything else I can help with?
No questions for me, but just want to say thank you. That was really useful. And also just looking behind ThriveCard, but also just hearing you talk about your course and stuff. Because again, like Michelle said, it's just, getting a feel for your course, but also thinking, this is how I want to feel about my course. This is how I want to be able to talk about my course and promote it and kind of, get it out there. So it's been super helpful from that perspective as well. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so wonderful having you here, hearing about what you're working on. You all ask such amazing questions. So I host these course cafes every month, and you're always welcome to come to them, ask me all your questions. Really, like, there's nothing off limits. You're never going to hear me go like, I'm not going to answer that. Like, you have to pay me money for this or whatever. It's always like, I want to be able to help you. Like, my goal is very much like, how do we help you get your incredibly amazing program out there in the world in a way that you're obsessed with it and it's going to get amazing results. So whether that's coming to these and asking me all the questions, or joining the incubator, or like coming to New York if you want, whatever feels good for you, I'm really here to help however I can.
Great, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. All right, friends, I am going to set you free for the day. Thank you all so much for showing up. And for those of you who have been catching this replay, thank you all for watching. And I hope to maybe see you next month. And in between, if you have questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, emily.mwalker. My DMs are also open. You can send me a voice note and be like, okay, I was integrating what we talked about on the call and I have further questions. So you're always welcome to message me.
Thank
Fab,
you.
thank you.
All right, thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone else.
See you later.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.